Hi YouTube, AC Dodd here again, and I thought I'd do a little video on a product review, and this time we're going to talk about dwell meters. So a lot of people ask me about the equipment they see me use on my videos, and one of those is a dwell meter. Now, dwell meters have been around for many years, although latterly nowadays there are many less offerings about, purely because there's much less call for them. So that's actually making it a bit of a challenge. So dwell meters have taken many different types over the years, many different forms. Typically I like using a dwell meter here with an analog scale, so it's nice and smooth, so that you don't get any flicking around of the readings. Now, you know, something like that was designed in the 1960s, and this particular one was imported by myself from the States, and it was a kit of parts you could buy, and then you would build that in the United States to be able to tune your own car. And the other thing worth mentioning is most dwell meters, not all but most, are part of a multi-function arrangement. So for this, for example, it can read DC volts and RPM for 4 to 8 cylinder engines. As time went on, things evolved, and we got things like automotive meters. Here's my one from the Snap-on Man. This is actually a Blue Point, but sold via the Snap-on Man. This is about, I don't know, 15 years old, something like that. So a lot more expensive, obviously digital. Okay. Now, this particular meter, I've never really been that impressed with when it comes to reading dwell, for example, because it would flick around the scale and not be smooth, and that's really annoying. So moving on, before I tell you about the meter that I would recommend that you buy for DIY use, I just want to talk a quick bit about, you know, what is dwell, why do we need to measure it? Well, that's relatively simple. On points ignition systems, dwell is effectively the time at which the points are closed, so that's between every time they're open, and therefore the amount of time that current can flow through the primary winding of the coil circuit. Okay, so that time that the points are closed has to be a particular length of time to enable the coil to charge properly. Now, if you think about that, the problem with dwell and the problem with coil charge time is that at slow speeds you get a lot more time than you do at high speeds, because clearly when the engine's running faster, those points are opening and closing a lot faster, and there's a lot less time. And this is why dwell becomes important, because at high speeds you typically, on a conventional 3-ohm coil ignition system, you will run out of coil energy, okay, very quickly. And that's why, as time has evolved and development has evolved on cars, you need to change coil power so that you can actually maintain spark energy. You know, the higher you rev the engine and maybe the higher compression you have, the more spark energy you need, things like that. So it's important, if you've got a classic car and maybe you've modified it, or maybe you're just looking to get the most out of that engine, that you set your dwell angle properly to get the coil charge time correct. So it's quite often nowadays I'll come out to cars and unfortunately they're not running the correct dwell angle. Now, if you think of a conventional ignition system as not having enough coil power, okay, so it's in its best condition, it's barely got enough energy to do the spark, provide the spark at high RPM that you actually need. And obviously nowadays people are obviously modifying their engines and they need more spark energy. So to that end, it's important that if we want to maintain and use a lower power system, that we need to make sure that we've got enough energy to actually fire that spark. And that's where the dwell meter comes in, because we can actually electronically measure that charge time expressed in degrees of dwell, and the dwell refers to the time that the cam on the distributor is dwelling, i.e. not lifting the points. Okay, so the longer that dwell angle, the more coil charge time. So, you know, you might think, okay, you know, I can use a feeler blade to set points. Well, you can. The problem with a feeler blade is it doesn't count. It doesn't count for wear, and it doesn't account for tolerances, and it doesn't account for dynamic movement. So that's where the dwell meter comes in, because you can actually set the points gap to give you the proper dwell angle that you need, because it's the actual dwell angle that sets the coil charge time, and that's why it's important to measure it. Okay, so what are the problems with measuring dwell? Well, I've already referred to one issue, which is the steadiness of the meter. Okay, so I typically prefer the analog type meters, like I've just shown. So analog, nice dial, gives a nice smooth reading. Now, typically on a modern meter, things like this, you get a digital readout and it flicks about. That's really annoying, and it doesn't look professional if you're trying to show somebody what's going on. So if you have a digital readout, what you actually want is a nice stable reading. Well, it just so happens that I have found a meter that does just that. And not only that, I've also found a meter that is relatively cheap. So typically something like this might cost you upwards of £100 to import. This, I think I paid, I don't know, 350, 400 and whatever pounds it was about 15 years ago from the Snap-on man. So very expensive. Whereas this, on the other hand, I got from Amazon. Okay. And when I bought this, this was I think it was between 30 and 40 pounds. I think I've just checked this week, it's 38 pounds, something like that, delivered, which is a fantastic deal. So what I want to do is basically use this video to give you some idea of a good meter and the sort of functions you can get. So the useful thing about this particular piece of kit is it's got a nice large display. So when we turn it on, you can see that all reads up nicely. It's got many functions on there. So typically when you switch it on, it's in DC volts mode. So you can obviously measure battery voltage and things on your car. This meter itself is set up for automotive work. So it can read capacitance, it can read resistance, it can read DC volts, frequency, AC volts, obviously RPM, temperature and dwell angle. So it's a fantastic piece of kit for the money. So the reason why I haven't reviewed this yet is because I don't review products unless I've tested them. Okay, so I've had this about 3 or 4 months and I've been taking it out with me on the road and I've been using it. So I thought I would give you an honest review now that I've used it, and obviously share with you a little bit of footage of it being used, so you can actually get a good idea of why I'm recommending this for people who are looking after their own cars. Now, the main thing about people who are looking after their own cars is the cost of tools. This is in the, say, £38 currently. The price does vary. I think I paid £32 about 4 months ago, something like that, when I got this. So I didn't think it was going to be much, but in reality, it turns out to be very good. And the most important thing is it's got a lovely stable reading. So it's perfect for giving you the right dwell, nice stable dwell numbers, which is what it's all about, really. So what do you get? Well, it comes in this nice case. Obviously it was in a cardboard box, but I don't have that anymore. And then when you open it up, it comes with a nice set of leads, a set of instructions, and it also has a charging cable because the battery is USB charging. So there's an internal battery, so there's no batteries to fit in the unit. You just charge it up. It also comes with a temperature probe. As you can see, I've not used that because I haven't needed to. So in terms of the meter itself, it basically has a number of ports on. When you open up the meter itself, you can see what those ports are. So I typically use it, and I typically use it for only a couple of functions. So I find that The two top ports is what I use the most. Obviously, the bottom port there for current measurement. I don't typically use it for that when I'm on the road tuning. But I do use it typically for resistance measurement. Which is that setting. It's auto ranging. Obviously, zero the meter like you would normally do. And you can see the thing goes through its scale, 0.2 ohms. Yep. And I also use the DC volt setting and obviously the dwell. Now, one downside of this particular meter that I got was the RPM function on this meter doesn't work. So if you have it in the RPM, and you can obviously select between 2 and 4 stroke, I get no reading, so it's not able to give me a reading off the engine. That's no biggie for me, purely because I've got my strobe light that gives me a lovely reading anyway. So I would imagine that isn't the same on the range. I'd say this is a fault on this particular meter. However, the dwell setting, which is what I'm recommending this meter is simply bought for, will give you dwell reading for 1 cylinder, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cylinder engines. All right, so my point is this is an ideal meter for reading and setting your dwell measurements and being able to tune your own engines. Also, you've seen me use this meter for checking voltage, so ideal for checking voltage, power at the coil, battery voltage, checking charging systems, batteries and all the rest of it. So yeah, ideal. As I say, I only use it for voltage, resistance and dwell. I don't use any of these other functions. I've never even tested any of these functions purely because I just don't need to. All right, so judging by the way this meter has worked, and it's relatively well made. The only thing I will say about it is now that I've used it a few times, the top is starting to become loose. Okay, but don't forget I use this a lot, whereas somebody like yourselves who are doing DIY work may find that the lower use for DIY work means that this will obviously last longer and not wear so much. So when I'm doing out on the road tuning, I need rugged equipment, and this is on the lower end of the price bracket, so I don't expect this to be particularly rugged. I purely bought it to see if I could find a meter that I could recommend for people to do their own tuning and stuff at home. So I just thought I'd do put some video together just so you can see this meter in use, because clearly people have been asking me about the dwell meter, or about a cheap dwell meter I should say. So I went out and deliberately bought one, and I bought something that was in the £30 to £40 range. This is straight off Amazon. So in terms of the brand, it's clearly a Chinese unit, but having said that, it works quite well. So I've only ever used it for the voltage, resistance and dwell setting. I've not used these other functions. I have tried the RPM one, but that didn't work when I actually got it out of the packet, and it still doesn't work now. But I don't really care, because I have no need for that, because I've got my dwell meter, I've got my strobe light for that. But I can say that the voltage function, the resistance function and certainly the dwell function all work very well. So what we're going to do is I'll just give you some demonstrations of using what I typically use on a car. So the reason why I'm not going to go through the rest of these is purely because I didn't buy it for any of this. I only bought it to measure voltage, resistance and obviously dwell. So and for £30 to £40 really, that's all you need to do if you're looking after your classic car. But I'll get into why I really like this piece of kit, because a lot of these meters don't read or don't have very good stabilization. This, for the price, is about as good as you're going to get. So with that in mind, let's get in and do some measurements. So what we're doing here is I've got it set on the ohms scale, and I'm just taking a reading of the primary resistance of that coil on this particular car. So this is not set up, this is an actual tune I'm in the process of doing. So I just thought I'd take the video showing you actually use it on a particular customer's car. As you can see, we've got anywhere between 0.8 and 0.9 ohms showing on there. That's a good connection, nice and stable. Before you take a reading, you want to make sure your connections are right by touching the two leads together to get a nominal reading. Now in this particular case I'm getting 0.1 to 0.2 on that, so take that off of the reading. That's the resistance we're getting on the coil. So just doing a straight resistance check. I've got this on the auto ranging setting, so just on the resistance again, and as we can see I'm reading 1.875 k ohms, and obviously I'm just checking this HT lead. So yeah, the meter when checked against my other £500 unit from Bluepoint or Snap-on, you know, the readings were slightly different, but we're only talking in the realms of about 5%. So yeah, not too bad at all. The actual accuracy isn't really that important as long as it's giving you a ballpark figure, because in reality you're not looking for a particular figure when you do these checks on a car. You're just looking to get it in a range. So this meter is absolutely fine for that. Okay, so I've got the meter now on the DC volt setting. So what I'm going to do is just show you a voltage reading across the coil so you can actually see what's going on. So with that connected to the coil and the engine block, you can see we've got a nice steady 14 volts. So all I'm saying is, you know, the voltmeter reading works very well. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to check the dwell angle on this car using the meter. As you can see at the moment, nothing's connected, but if we go down, I've got the dwell meter set on 4-cylinder, so we connect the red terminal to the negative of the coil and then the black to an engine earth. Now if we look at that scale, you can see you've got a nice steady reading, 60.5 or thereabouts. So as long as I keep my connections on, that's nice and steady, and this is why I'm recommending this meter, because it works really well. So hopefully you found that useful. I shall leave a link in the description below from Amazon where I bought my meter. And with that being said, please like, subscribe and share these videos, which is very important. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.